Hi, I'm Trent Gustus with Remax Realty. And after being a realtor in the Calgary market for 20 years, I have some definite opinions on how I think the market is doing on an ongoing basis. And one of the things that I find is that oftentimes the real estate board reports average sale price. And I have a fundamental disagreement with that because I believe that the situation is if we have a few higher end homes sell in a month, that lowers the market average. It only tells us that people are either buying more expensive homes or less expensive homes. It actually doesn't tell us whether or not those homes are actually going up or down in value. So in this report, what I want to do is look at one of the most popular sales property types, and that's the double attached garage single family home that has 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms upstairs, typically between that 1,700 and 2,100 square feet anywhere in the city, and the newer style homes that are the 1990 and up. So essentially, what I want to see is what this is, because this is one of the most popular sales we have in our city. It is a pretty good demographic at any particular time. So what I want to start with is comparing apples to apples, of course, and looking at unfinished basements in this particular category. And because if we mix in 10 finished basements with 10 unfinished basements, we might skew our averages. So I don't want to do that. So here's what's sold in 2020 in January, not including any new listings from builders, because I think that also skews the records as well. So we look at the average sale last January in 2020 before COVID, we would have 458,608 on average, with an average square footage range of 1957 square feet. Now, if we look at the median price, we've got 446,000. Now, the median is where most buyers bought. Now, if now we want to look at what happened in not January. We'll look at the next slide. I wanted to compare November of 2020 to see if the market moved then and how many units sold. So in November of 2020, we actually had a higher sales price, 467, and a median price of 460. So it's slightly higher. That's 33 records that sold at that period of time. And so that tells us that probably the market's very similar to what it was back then. I wouldn't think that it changed a heck of a lot, even though the market average went up. We had a high sale of 699, and we had a high sale of 590 included, 99 included in that result. So that could skew it a little bit. So I would say that's probably a non-change. And we look at the next one here. We've got a sales price 2021. Now let's look at January with the month we just went through. 30 sales. So when we look at, there's not more sales in that month than there was in November, so the market would be similar. And yet we have 20 sales last year in January, so it's up from January. It's probably one of the better Januaries we've had. And if we want to look at the average sale is 490 now and 493, with the high price in that group being 648. So it really does tell us that our market right now for this kind of home is up, and that the unit sales from November compared to now hasn't changed really. Average sales days on market is 57 days. Average sale on days on market for November was 44, was even faster. And last year in 2020, before we knew about this whole virus stuff, was 62. So the market actually is better now than it was last year in 2020 in January. Now let's look at a bigger demographic. Let's look at the finished basements, because it looks like we got more sales there. So these are the same categories, just the finished basements. We got 503,000 as our average sale price. We've got a median price where most of the buys were at. It was 489, and they sold in 68, 65 days, and that was 39 sales. And I'm moving along here. We want to go to the next 2020 November, and we look at 522, 516, average days on market 49 and 39. So the market was picking up in November and doing a little bit better. See, our square footage is almost the same, and the average number of bedrooms 4. But we didn't put a category in there. That's just what showed up, right? We didn't put a number of bedrooms as a stipulator there. But yeah, 22,000 up on average from that. And we look at it, I guess we've got one here of the high sale at 729 and the low sale of 414. So it might balance it out. So maybe it is the same as it was in January, but hard to say. It looks like it's up a little bit. So let's look at the next group, and let's look at January of 2021. So here we got 538,000 in January, similar square footage ranges, a high of 910 in that group and a low of 408. So nothing that low. But here we go. Look at that. We've got looks like the median group was 538. Look at the amount of sales comparison here. 600 64 sales in January, 62 sales in November, almost the same, and like a big difference, a big jump up from last year in January. That means that the market was actually much like November and January instead of last year in January. So things are picking up, and it looks like when we look at year over year, it's obvious that the prices are up, right? Obvious. So the averages tell us that it looks like the market's doing better this year because there's not, that one sale certainly wouldn't contribute to having the whole group up by at least $35,000 on the average. And look at this, 30 on the median group. So that's where most of the sales were, was up significantly, even more. So more like, geez, 50,000. So if you were thinking that the market was actually going to be worse this year than last year, I guess we're all wrong on that one. So if you'd like any report similar to this, you want to report on your own home, I can certainly put any category together, and I can do a market report online where you can basically get your specific home evaluated with a private report just for you. So all you need to do is click on the link provided and enter your information, and I'd be happy to set you up with your own private video evaluation of your property, or suggest a category that you'd like and email me. Thanks so much, and have a great day.